Hello and welcome to DW's International Reporters Magazine World Stories with me, Layla Harak. Coming up on today's show, once lost, now found. The nectar of the gods makes a comeback in Mexico. And drivers in Mauritania ditch their cars as gas prices go through the roof. Plus, healing gardens. We hear how a quintessentially English flower show helps people with Alzheimer's disease hold on to their memories. That's all coming up in just a moment. Now, as you're getting settled into your seat to watch the show, some of you may want to pour yourself a drink. And if you're joining us from Mexico City, you could be reaching for a jug of pulque. This unique milky alcoholic drink is having its moment in Mexico. Made from fermented agave juice, this ancient Aztec beverage can't be bottled, canned, or exported. Once a religious beverage, pulque became known as the drink of the down and out. And oh, how times have changed. Montserrat Ruiz from Canal 22 profiled one of Mexico City's best-known pulquerias.
La pulquería fue abierta en octubre.
The pulqueria first opened its doors back in October 1912. So last year, this place turned 100. And we had a party celebrating those 100 years. A lot has changed since then. When I took over this place, things were pretty bad. It was losing money, and it seemed it had reached the end of the road. For years, I'd had this idea about the perfect pulqueria, the pulquero's dream, if you like. And I was absolutely certain that Las Duelistas, the duelers, was a good place to make my dream come true. And I was right. I opened for the first time on the 31st of January, and I swear already by May it was a success, especially with the younger generation. In fact, it went so well that I remember having to turn people away back in 2007 because we were so crowded. So I think you can say I achieved even more than I had originally planned. 10 years ago, plenty of people were saying that pulque had only a couple of years left. But I asked myself, why? What was the problem? Everybody told me young people don't drink pulque. But I persisted. Why not? Because they weren't familiar with it. That's why. So we started to change that by focusing on a younger clientele, playing music they liked, creating a healthy and safe atmosphere. We're on Facebook and Twitter, and we got so many friends it's unbelievable. More than 100,000 on Facebook alone. Twitter's much the same, so we breathed life back into pulque. So I say to everyone who comes in, make yourself at home. You can do what you want as long as you don't break the rules. I'm here to make sure everything is okay and take care of finances. We take our pulque directly from the vats, from the tinacal. It's on the road early every morning, and it gets here about 6 a.m. Every day, fresh pulque. We prepare all the different flavors that are on offer. For example, red wine, pine nut, maracuya, our specialty Oreo cookies, mint, tamarind. It's a huge selection. From Monday to Thursday, we sell 300 to 500 liters. Fridays and Saturdays, that goes up to 700 or 800 liters. The atmosphere in the pulqueria is very different from that of an ordinary bar. In a bar, everybody just sits around on their own. It's different here. Real pulqueros, people who drink only pulque, they still come here even though the place is full of younger people. A couple of them feel a little bit out of place, but sometimes you might have 3 different groups sitting at a table, and before you know it, they're all friends, and you hear them saying, "What? Nothing left to drink? Let me buy you a glass." Pulque is like a woman. Pulque needs love. You have to stroke it and say nice things. And this means that serving pulque isn't something for everyone. Las Duelistas has given me everything I ever dreamed of. I don't think there's anything left missing in my life. And whoever gets to carry on here after we're all gone, well, I hope they keep everything the way it is now. This is simply the best thing that ever happened in my life.
Next, we travel to the Republic of Congo, where one man is determined not to face a future without fish. In recent years, concern has been rising worldwide over rapidly depleting fish stocks. So too in Congo, where waters once teeming with life are witnessing the gradual extinction of local fish population. With no limit on the size of catches or rules on who's allowed to fish, fishing is a free-for-all, and this in turn has a profoundly negative effect on the local fish population. Now, efforts are underway to introduce sustainable fishing practices that protect the remaining fishing stocks for future generations. Frédéric Missamou and Karen Kales have the story.
The fishing net is an important tool for Jean de Dieu Moikua, one that he inherited from his ancestors. But now he and his sons are trying to develop more modern techniques.
We're looking for methods to practice fishing in the future. It's important that we not only have fish for today, but also think about times to come.
To begin with, Jean de Dieu prepares the floating fish cages. He is a pioneer of aquaculture in his village, Mosaic.
It simplifies the fishing process. Why? Because the fish have already been caught. All I need to do is feed them. And after 4 months, I take them out and sell them.
Jean de Dieu and his sons are still experimenting. With tilapia, for example, it's a very difficult and demanding task.
We're not very happy because we didn't catch anything. This type of net just isn't suitable.
But even if Jean de Dieu didn't catch anything today, he's optimistic that he will find a successful method with time. He was born in Mosaic, a region in northern Congo that used to be known for its big fish stocks. However, those days are long gone. Jean de Dieu is worried about the future for his family and the region. That's why he wants to introduce profitable and sustainable fishing.
The environment has changed. Siltation is a problem here and there, and several species of fish have become extinct.
After fishing, Jean de Dieu often meets other fishermen and goes out on the water with them. They frequently talk about the environment. This afternoon, they inspect the contents of a fish trap. Dennis Mpongo is distressed. A few days ago, his trap was full, but now he's caught hardly anything, not even enough for tonight's dinner.
It can't go on like this. The world has changed. Compared to how it used to be, the fishing situation has gotten much worse.
Fishing is the main source of income for the villagers. They fish all year, and sometimes also use illegal methods. This puts the fry at risk and means there are less fish for the national market. Jean de Dieu raises awareness among fishermen who don't know the damage they're causing. He and his friends never miss an occasion to share their experiences with others.
Look at these babies. They're small children. If we kill them, they'll never become adults. It's the same with fish. We complain that there are fewer fish, but we're the only ones responsible.
The villagers dry and smoke the fish in order to preserve it. Many inhabitants of the Congo love dried fish. However, it's difficult for Jean de Dieu and the other fishermen to commercialize their product and to deliver it to the cities.
Transport simply has to be improved. A lot of buyers come to me, but there are a lot of losses on the way to the city.
This is where Jean de Dieu ends his day. He has to carry out the painstaking work to earn a decent living.
I'm feeding them. They're my babies. I have to feed them.
Jean de Dieu's son Welfa seems to be keen to follow in his footsteps, but until then, the business will remain firmly in his father's hands.
This is the profession I learned from my father. I have to continue doing it this way. When the fish are big, I'll sell them so I can provide a living for my family and we have enough to eat, and that we can live well in good conditions.
After a long and stressful day, Jean de Dieu is tired but full of hope.
Moussaka's future is on the right path.
And he will accompany his village's journey into the future.
And now we head to Northwest Africa, to the edge of the Sahara, where faced with dramatic hikes in gas prices, car owners in Mauritania had to resort to extreme measures. That country has seen prices at the pump increase countless times. Hardest hit, local cab drivers, who many in the outskirts of the capital rely on to get around. No longer able to afford fuel for their cars and keen to avoid drastic fare increases, clients went back to basics. Nabila Laoudi from El Ain filed this report on the road ahead when the gas runs out.
The price of gas went up 14 times last year in Mauritania's capital, Nouakchott. This year, it's already been raised twice. So right now, gas goes for $1.50 a liter. That's a nightmare for taxi drivers who've had to hike their fares.
The situation's become very difficult because of the rising gasoline prices. It's expensive to drive a car.
I can't support my family or my father anymore.
The cost of gasoline has risen so much that many people are no longer using their cars. They can't keep up with the prices, so they've gone back to horse-drawn vehicles. A ride in a horse-drawn cart costs about a quarter of a taxi ride. That's why many poor people from the suburbs are opting for this mode of transport. The owners of horse-drawn vehicles have set up stands near markets to meet rising demand. There are drivers on hand, day and night.
We're trying to earn a living and support our parents. They're getting older.
It costs me much less to travel by cart than by taxi. And with cart, I can go everywhere for less money.
So while the rising gasoline prices have been a disaster for car drivers and cabbies, they're a godsend for the owners of horse-drawn carts, who had previously given up due to lack of income.
Next up, we visit Russia, where craftsmen turn stones into treasures, creating mosaic art. The process is arduous and involves cutting hard rocks into fine sheets using state-of-the-art machinery. Guided by the color, shape, and texture of the stones, the artists then create elaborate artworks with paper templates. The technique originated in Florence, Italy, and as UFAU TV found out during a visit to a workshop, Russian mosaic artists are masters at creating museum-worthy pieces.
There's stone that we order in Africa, for example in South Africa. Rare stones. This is where we keep them. We've got so many that we have to keep them somewhere. That's why we put up these shelves.
The Artel Studio produces Florentine mosaic using hard rock from the Ural Mountains. Florentine mosaic is special because it's made of hard stones that are particularly resistant to abrasion and not sensitive to mechanical strain. Hard rock also has good color retention, hardly ever fading in the sun. The Ural rock is rich in different color nuances, meaning artists can be creative.
Our job is to find out what's interesting about a stone, to create something with it, a mosaic.
But it's not that easy to make a mosaic. After a suitable stone has been found, state-of-the-art water jet cutting machines are used to cut it into sheets that are 4 millimeters thick.
When you cut a stone, you're intrigued about what's inside, even if it doesn't look particularly nice and you don't expect anything special. When I began here, my boss said I would get $35 in cash in hand if I found some sort of pattern.
And did you?
No, not really, but you know, all the stones have patterns on them. You just have to be able to see them.
This is a cut sheet on which we stick patterns that we've already drawn on paper. It looks like a puzzle.
In Florentine mosaic art, stones are not only used to make ornaments, but also to copy masterpieces of classical art and other great works. To do this, they first draw patterns onto paper templates and then find the right pieces of stone that fit perfectly to give the impression of an homogeneous surface.
I would say we need between a month, sometimes a year or more to complete our work.
Florentine mosaic is used to decorate walls, tables, chessboards, or jewelry boxes, for example. The artists in this studio mostly create unique pieces which can be found in private collections, art galleries, and state museums all over the world. How many pieces do you need to make an eye, for example?
For an eye, I would say about 10 pieces. For the iris, the eyelashes, etc. For all of this, Michael Jackson's head, I would need about 1,000 pieces.
The most difficult part is to get the color pattern right. Sometimes it's very hard to reproduce the exact colors, which are not so visible to the naked eye, and to choose the right piece of stone for a tiny detail. What do you like most about your job?
Sometimes you hate everything. On a day-to-day basis, it's not that exciting. But it's great when you have a finished piece in your hand.
Florentine mosaic is timeless. The colors never lose their luminosity.
This is one of our gems. Lev Petrov finished it not long ago. It's a copy of a Florentine mosaic piece in the amber room of the Catherine Palace. In this beautiful piece, you can see the letters L and P. the artist's initials. These letters are his own small contribution. Probably nobody will remember that in 500 years, but maybe someone will.
And finally, it's reportedly one of the most famous landscape events in the world, and it's not just for people with green fingers or vendors showing off their buds. For a group of Alzheimer patients, the annual Chelsea Flower Show in London is more than just a nice day out. It's therapeutic, and as this next report shows, it can have a positive impact on the health of the brain.
A garden always conjures up different feelings in different people. Some might be reminded of vacations at their grandparents', others of summer afternoons with friends, or of romantic moments in the open. And those with Alzheimer's might remember things that had long been thought forgotten. This garden at the Chelsea Flower Show was created especially for people suffering with the disease and their families. Called Sowing the Seeds of Change, it's a modern garden where families can enjoy a connection with nature and food. Linda Bellingham is an actress who's been an ambassador for the Alzheimer's Society for many years.
For somebody suffering with Alzheimer's, you could sit in a garden like this, listen to the birds, and who knows really what happens in our minds when we're suffering. But I can only think positively and think that if I was sitting in a garden like this and I could smell perhaps mint reminded me of potatoes when I was a child, or a bird reminded me of a particular point in my life. This is vital.
Adam Frost designed the garden, taking into account the needs of Alzheimer's patients and their relatives and friends. The paths are all straight, and there's easy access to all the plants. Frost wanted visitors to experience the garden with all their senses, not only vision and smell, but also taste.
Every single shrub in the garden is edible, so I've got things like quinces, medlars, raspberries, black currants, red currants, gooseberries, and I could go on. So everything is usable, but that gives the shape and the structure. Trees are apples and pears, so in a sense you get this feeling more or less as if you're sat in hopefully a bit like an orchard, really.
And the garden doesn't only feature fruit, but also herbs and vegetables, such as peas and rosemary, or carrots and fennel. And of course, there's a place where people can drink a cup of tea and eat cake while talking about their experience with Alzheimer's in the family. Some might be encouraged to create a similar environment at home.
Gardening is incredibly important to people with dementia. It's not just actually the act of being out there doing exercise, but it's also what an important part of their ongoing therapy it is. We know from talking to people with dementia how much they enjoy the familiar smells, the familiar tastes if they've grown strawberries. And so for us, we hear that time and time again from patients that we help.
Gardening can help remind patients and their families of times gone by. Linda Bellingham, who has first-hand experience of Alzheimer's because she cared for her mother when she got ill, knows how important this is.
It develops into, obviously, the point where they don't know who you are, and you are talking to a body and a face that you love so much, and that's when it becomes, I think, phenomenally difficult for the loved ones. My father, the concept that Mum didn't love him, but we said, but she does love you, Dad, but she can't tell you that anymore.
Just an afternoon in this Chelsea garden can sow the seeds of change and revive memories of a happier common past.
And with that report, we've come to the end of this edition of World Stories. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, you can get in touch anytime, anywhere. Just go to dw.de/World Stories. Let us know what you think about the program. Post a message on our Facebook page. Look for us under DW English. For now, here are this week's Fix of the World. See you next time.
Splish splash, I was taking a bath, long about a Saturday night. Rubbed up, just relaxing in the tub, thinking everything was alright. When I stepped out the tub, put my feet on the floor, I wrapped the towel around me and I opened the door, and then a splish splash, jumped back in the bath. Well, how was I to know there was a party going?